Hi everyone, welcome to composition for May 13th. This is our second to last lesson. What? Crazy. So our big task today is revising the analysis that you already wrote and then finishing it. So we're going to revise our analysis. Basically, the big issue was that there was a lot of redundancy and wordiness. So we're going to revise our analysis to be more concise by getting rid of extra phrases like this shows and not repeating ideas. So we're going to go through some reminders on due dates, issues with analysis, and how to revise. And then you are going to revise your analysis and finish your body paragraphs. So due dates for the rest of the year. Due tomorrow. All your body paragraphs should be complete. And then due Monday is basically your final draft. So frame and conclusion, and then you're going to put it all in your final draft in MLA formatting. I'll also be providing an extra credit opportunity at the end of this week. So grades are due next Friday, the 22nd. So everything has to be turned in by then. If you are someone who is way behind, just know you have to get the essay done by then. Also, if you are behind and you're working right now on catching up on your essay, please click mark as done or turn in on those individual classwork assignments. Because even though there isn't a classwork document, for example, associated with the May 1st assignment, that assignment was to choose all your evidence. So if you have chosen all your evidence, you should click mark as done on that assignment. That tells me this person completed this work. So then I go update your grade and give you feedback, right? Otherwise, I'm just randomly checking for updates on your draft. And it's just, it doesn't ensure that you get the grade that you deserve for doing this work. So please make sure you're clicking that mark as done on those daily assignments as you finish parts of the essay. Okay, so let's get into the big issue with analysis, redundancy and wordiness. So just to review, redundancy means repeating an idea, even if it's in different words, right? Like open 7 days a week and Sundays, that's redundant because Sunday is a day of the week. Wordiness is related to redundancy, using too many words, so it's called extraneous phrases, or words that are too complicated. So some extraneous phrases that were going on in your essays and your analysis are things like this shows, this evidence is important because, this proves, this supports my argument because. So all of those are extraneous phrases that we want to get rid of to be more concise and less wordy. Repeating ideas from evidence and analysis and repeating ideas within your analysis are both issues of redundancy, right? You're repeating ideas even if they are saying them in slightly different words. So both of these issues are related to each other. They were both issues in a lot of people's analysis, so we're going to talk about how to fix them. So here's an example from some student work of wordiness or extraneous phrases. So saying this evidence proves that most teens feel better connected, or this, and then this shows that technology can improve relationships. So this is an example of those extraneous, which is one of my favorite words, extraneous words and phrases. So why is this a problem? There's a few reasons. So the word this, like saying this shows, well, what is this? You're not being specific about what you're talking about, right? Is it the data? Is it this example that you're giving, right? You need to be specific about what you're talking about. This doesn't tell me what you're talking about. Shows is a weak verb. Illustrates, demonstrates, emphasizes. Those are all better verbs than shows. This evidence and this quote and this supports my argument. So this is one of those things that really annoys me and annoys all writing teachers. You don't need to tell me what I'm reading, right? I know that I just read your evidence. I know that I'm reading your argument. So it's obnoxious to tell me that's what it is. So imagine if you were reading a book and all of a sudden the author wrote, this character is going to explain why she did that. You'd be like, well, why don't you just let me read it? Right? I know this is a character. I know this is what you do. You don't need to tell me what I'm reading. And then the other thing is proves. The word proves, we don't want to use that word, because none of this evidence is proving anything, right? If anything were proven, if one side of the argument were proven, there would be no reason to write this essay. Your evidence supports one side of the argument, but it doesn't prove anything. So basically, all of these words are extraneous, making your writing less concise. We want to be concise, right? We want to say things in the most exact, precise, specific, short way possible that still gets our ideas across. So some ideas for how to revise. So instead of saying this evidence prove, we can say something like the data illustrates, right? Because we are talking about data, so we're being specific about what this is. The data illustrates, we're using a stronger word, a stronger verb than shows. Instead of using something like this shows, you can just use a transition word, right? This shows that. You can just get rid of that, use a transition word like therefore. Ultimately, consequently, right? You use one of those cause and effect transition words instead of this shows. And then just never say this evidence, right? Just don't tell me that I just read evidence. I know I just read evidence. You don't need to say what it is. Okay, the other issue is redundancy. So I think sometimes we, get into this trap where we're like, okay, I need to write 3 sentences at least for this analysis. So I'm just going to kind of type, and I've repeated the same thing 3 times, right? I've just said it in slightly different words. So this happens sometimes when we repeat what the evidence says in our analysis. So here's an example. This quote from Sherry Turkle: "We sacrifice conversations for mere connections. We seem to forget this, or we seem to stop caring." In this person's analysis, they said, "We change real conversation for something that is a mock of what is real, and we lose the sense of authenticity, but we don't seem to care." Essentially, this person has just put this quote in different words, right? Same thing with the end here: "Until we no longer care or no longer notice. We seem to forget this or seem to stop caring." That's pretty much exactly what Sherry Turkle said. We don't need to read these ideas twice, right? You're not really telling me anything new. You're not analyzing the evidence. So that is really your job in the evidence, is to analyze it, right? Your reader just read your evidence. They don't need to read it again. So root causes, possible outcomes of this evidence, inferences you can make about why technology has the effects that it has. These questions down here are all questions you can answer to expand your ideas in your analysis and avoid repeating yourself. So I think I was pretty good about commenting if you had repeated yourself and giving you some ideas for how to expand. This is a list of questions you can ask yourself about your evidence in order to expand your analysis instead of repeating ideas, right? You want 3 sentences, but you want 3 different ideas in those sentences. You don't want to just repeat one over and over. That's boring. So bottom line, we do not need to read the same idea more than once. Be concise. So here's an example. So instead of just repeating what Turkle is saying, I am answering other questions about that evidence to replace the repeated ideas. So when we communicate online, we don't have those deep conversations that can only happen in person, because typing is fundamentally different from talking face to face. In person, we stumble over our words, etc. So I'm basically going into detail about why does technology have the effect that you're talking about in this evidence. And then at the end, instead of just repeating what the quote says in different words, I'm adding sort of this what is the ultimate outcome for relationships? So communication online does not allow that, and therefore many modern relationships are missing out on that connection, right? So these questions, this list of questions back here, figure out which ones you have not answered and try to answer them in your analysis if you are stuck for ideas on how to not repeat yourself. Okay, so your job for today's classwork is to go revise the analysis you have written and reply to at least one of my comments. If you did not get any comments on your analysis, I'm going to add that to the instructions here. I forgot to put that. But if you did not get any comments in your analysis, you do need to add one comment stating why you have good analysis, right? Why does it meet the criteria for success? Does it have transition words? Are you not repeating yourself? Are you, what questions are you answering about your evidence to show that you're analyzing it instead of just summarizing it? And then once you have done that, so either replied to one comment or added one comment of your own if you did not have any comments, you've revised your analysis in a way that makes it not redundant or wordy, then you are going to write analysis for the rest of your body paragraphs in your drafting document. So this means that everything should be done except for your frame and your conclusion in your essay. And then click Mark as Done on today's assignment, and that will do it. So get in touch with any questions. If you're behind, it's go time. Let's get this done. Shout out to a few of you who are really working hard on catching up. Way to go. Keep up the great work. Bye.